There's a saying that goes, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I have a formal MBA, and so the business side of me feels like that's a really soft saying. But the human side of me has learned over 13 years of owning a business that that's absolutely true. So if there's anything that I want communicated here in this series is for people to understand how much I care. And when you care this much, you won't employ people who don't, or you won't keep them. And you'll surround yourself with people who have a fire for the thing that we're doing. And they don't just come to a job. That's who I am, and that's who I attract. And so clients, have been very comfortable that the most creative, big initiatives can be trusted here. And they wouldn't go anywhere else because they could afford to go anywhere they want to go. They trust us. And I think if I can shed some light on why us, why I did this, then I think hopefully people will learn more about C&A Digital. Certain people for the exact same medicine paid one amount and others paid more. And so I started to learn about access in the pharmaceutical industry and what that meant. And so after I graduated, my first job was actually as a writer for managed care, pharmaceutical management, and a long-term care journal. And this company, which I ended up meeting my mentor at, really taught me the ins and outs of the pharmaceutical business and the economy of it. And I learned that I could use my writing skills to influence the decision makers in that area, and that was actually a very limited, a very small group of people knew how to do that well. And so that if I could get really good at it, I could probably lead the way in many ways in that sector. So that's what I did. So it was like a love of science and my love of writing that got me into the managed market space, which got me into the advertising space. And I loved the creative process and I loved writing. But I really loved moving the needle for people who needed access to medicines and being able to understand the economy of it. And so I just continued to study that and been doing that now for the past 20 plus years. So I started my career. I was lucky enough to start my career at a great healthcare agency in Manhattan, and they were really buttoned up and smart people. And so I was able to learn a lot about how to take what was interesting to me and make it into a career. And my first boss was really tough, but she really urged me to lean all the way in and to not dabble. And if I could figure out how to do that, she's like, you will lead and you will do very well in life. And I believed her. And I really also loved the advertising world once I got to know what it was. I loved being a copywriter, which is the writing function at advertising agencies. I love the collaborative nature of it, where you work with an art director and a writer, and sometimes motion graphics or UX people, account people facing the clients. To me, it was the best job in the world. It still is. But I fell in love with it immediately and was able to move from that agency to another to start an agency within an agency. And that experience was able to tap the entrepreneurial side of me, which probably came from my dad as an entrepreneur. But it was able to teach me the ins and outs of the advertising world in terms of how do you start something. And I had the benefit of being part of a bigger agency. So I had resources, which you don't have when you start an independent agency. But it was a great learning ground for what I wanted, but also what I didn't want. The last place I was at, for as many great friends as I had and as much experience as I was able to gain, it wasn't going to be a long-term fit for me, but The reason I came to that was because I wanted to start a family. And I had already started a family. So I had one child then, and I knew I wanted more. And I could see what was happening as I transitioned from, just an officer of the company to a mother. And I didn't love what happened. Quite frankly, I wish I could say it was all a beautiful story, but it wasn't. The pain of going through that actually is what pushed me to go independent. So before starting C&A, I was an independent consultant to the same firm that had hired me. So I didn't actually just leave, I just became independent, and then on the side built the infrastructure for the business, knowing that at some point that would probably end too. And also that the nature of being independent and the beauty of what I do is being able to serve multiple clients. And even the beauty of what I do today is I still work with big agencies, and I love that. So I didn't have to give up my love of big agency to be an independent entrepreneur. And C&A Digital has a lot of the biggest names agency wise on our client roster. Super proud of that. Also serving direct to client. So I love the ability to add value to the big agencies and also direct to client and other types of businesses as well. One of the catalysts for starting C&A in Westchester, New York, was certainly that, hey, I love Westchester, but I was so floored that there were no cool creative agencies here, and still we remain the one. Sorry to anybody who thinks they're a cool creative agency, but the more you look in, the more you realize it isn't the same. And so there's a spark in New York City. There's a talent pool. There's an energy. And so I made it a goal to bring that energy, spark, creativity, and talent to Westchester, because there's so many beautiful businesses here that deserve a cool creative agency that really, they're thinking outside of the box and they work really hard and don't quit at 5 like everybody else. In New York City, you know better. Here, I couldn't find that spark. So we built it, and it's been a lot of fun watching it unfold. There's this special magic that I felt the ad agencies in New York City had. And so if I could just get a couple of those sparks here to get them to grow into embers and then a fire, that became the thing I wanted to do from a business standpoint. And I think we've done a really good job doing that, and we continue to strive for that.